on Q13 News at 8. Homelessness, drug use on the streets, crime, and traffic. So-called big city problems seeping into every community in our region.
When you have these acts of violence, they can happen in Seattle, they can happen in any city in the South Sound.
Western Washington is growing and fast, from King to Pierce to Snohomish counties. What are your cities doing to tackle these crises?
For some answers, let's toss it over to Q13 Simone Del Rosario, standing by with the mayors of Burien, Marysville, and Puyallup.
Thank you. I am here with Mayor Jimmy Mata of Burien, Mayor John Neering of Marysville, and Mayor John Palmer of Puyallup. Thank you for joining us for our inaugural Primetime panel. And I think what's exciting is that we have 3 mayors in 3 different counties. First time all of you have ever met each other.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yep.
That's right. Coming from so-called smaller communities in our region, you face some really big problems. I think that each one of your cities and our entire region as a whole deals with issues like housing affordability, homelessness on some level. Mayor Neering, I want to start with you. There's a lot of talk about your zero tolerance policy in Marysville. Yeah. Is it making a difference?
It's making a huge difference. What we do is we do have an embedded social worker and a police officer. Their full-time job is to go out and find people on our streets that are addicted to drugs, and to offer them the help that they need to get them into a treatment program, graduated from that into temporary housing, wrap services around them, and get them off the streets. That attacks the root of the problem. But ours is a two-pronged approach in that we say we want to get you the help. We plead with you to get the help. But if you don't accept that help, we turn to a law enforcement solution. And that means prosecuting your outstanding warrants and looking to put you in jail. So we make you make a choice. It is working. We've gotten 79 people off the streets into inpatient treatment in the first year of the program. 44 have graduated successfully from that program. Others are at different stages of 30, 60, or 90-day treatment. And so we've seen great success with the program, but I think the key is the two-pronged approach. You can't coddle them. You got to make them make a choice, and you got to have consequences if they don't make the correct choice.
And Mayor Mata, your city announced last month a similar approach, a navigation team type approach. Did you get that idea from Marysville, or where does this come from, and how do you hope it'll go forward?
Well, I think one of the things was when I was at the park, and I seen that there was some families trying to spend some time with their family, and there was some major challenges with making sure that we could have a place where everybody could take part. But right now it's a pilot program. We have a navigation team. We also have the LEAD program, and we have a resource. We have about 45 different agencies that come in on the first Monday to offer assistance, whether it's drug addiction, mental health, anything that you may think of. That's the services they're providing. So we'll see what happens in the next 4 months and figure out how it's going to benefit the community as a whole.
Okay, so something to look forward to. Mayor Palmer, your city is actually facing a little bit of criticism over regulating where homeless centers can go up in Puyallup. I want to take a listen real quick to one of the homeless residents in your city.
If they're not going to allow us to be intense, then they have to have somewhere for us to go, right? I feel more pushed out by the city, the higher ups, for sure. It's them that doesn't want us here.
What's your reaction to hearing someone in your city say that?
Yeah, so we're taking a two-pronged approach as well. First of all, we need protecting the community, and so we're employing a number of things, and I think that's part of what she's responding to in terms of some additional police officers. We also have a police officer dedicated to working with the homeless and a social worker embedded as well. And we have had issues with the current drop-in center we had, a lot of, around the neighborhoods. And so and that's created a lot of community concern around this issue. And so we adopted some regulations in terms of where new shelters might go. And
but it was recently challenged in court.
That's correct. That's correct. And so there was a few of the tools that the board decided that we could not do. We were hoping that we could use some tools in terms of working with providers to locate a shelter in an appropriate location. It's called a development agreement, and they say we couldn't use that. So we're going to have to adjust our rules to adjust to the board ruling.
I want to ask you, what would you say is the biggest issue facing your city?
The biggest issue? Well, we're a family community, right? And so we want to maintain that community and family feeling where people feel safe when they go out. So public safety is clearly, I think, our #1 issue in terms of crime in general, but also some of the homeless issues. But we're starting to get a handle slowly on that stuff, and then moving on to other things as well.
I think, Mayor Mata, unfortunately, violence is something that your city is familiar with. There's been an increase in gang violence. What are you doing to address that? I know this is an issue, close to your heart. You're trying to do a lot of reaching out.
Well, it's partnering up with other cities, partnering up with businesses, making sure that we have programs in place for our children that are, being left at home by themselves, making sure that the parents understand that when children come to the community so that the kids are going to be safe. Look, I do believe that even in Burien, and this is not something that's just affecting Burien. I mean, we're starting to see violence across the region and the state. But one of the things that I also I love being about Burien is that our citizens, our communities, members are compassionate, right? But we also understand that we're not going to allow graffiti going on our walls. But we got to have we got to keep kids busy, and sometimes it's the lack of resources. So Parks and Recreation is implementing programs and making sure that if it's not a money issue, it's not an issue where people feel like their kids aren't going to be safe at the community center. So the other thing is working with the zoo. Some of our kids were able to go to Tacoma to go swimming for the day, and their parents were involved as well. So, we have a lot of programs that we want to make sure that we have intervention, but at the same time making sure that we have police presence on Ambom.
Let me just jump in. Again, 3 different counties here being represented, 3 different cities that are a little spread out. Just very briefly, in about a sentence, are you guys finding similarities in the issues within your same counties when you hear each other talk?
Oh yeah, I mean, public safety is the #1 issue in Marysville and in Snohomish County. Transportation is not that far behind, but crime fighting, I mean, we set out to reduce crime 20% in our city 3 or 4 years ago. Our chief and our police have done a magnificent job, but we found you got to be tough on criminals. And you've got to be serious about putting them in jail, even for the smaller crimes. If not, the larger ones grow. And so we're aggressive at crime fighting. We're aggressive at dealing with these things at the root cause.
And would you all agree with that? Is aggressiveness the way to go? Or are you being tough on crime?
I have a little bit of a different take on that. I do believe that we got to make sure with the compass of making sure that we're not setting it up where we're creating more criminals for coming back in the community. My dad died of a drug overdose in Burien, and so I see it through different lenses. I was raised as a farm worker, and our family is very, very poor, and some of the things that other families can have, which is maybe going into sports, wasn't something that was afforded to me. But I do believe that you have to have a balance, and to me it's prevention at an early stage. Our chief and I have gone out and with other officers and working with really young kids in grade school and going out and talking to high schools, right? So to me it's making sure that we have that fine balance there.
Mayor Palmer, I'm going to let you have the last word. We don't have a lot of time left, but what are you doing to address the core issues in your community? What can your residents wake up to tomorrow and be like, this is what my mayor's doing to fix some of our concerns?
Well, one of the things to feel safe, we have 6 new officers that are coming on board literally right now. They're getting trained right now, and that's going to allow our police to be much more proactive. And I think that's going to help a lot. People will see that presence. We just hired a new park ranger, for example. We have a lot of trails and parks in our community, so that's someone that's going to be out and about all summer long so people can feel safer when they're outside.
And I think all of these issues are something that even people who aren't in your cities are going to be able to recognize that and recognize those efforts. I hope you all work together in the future. Thank you so much for joining us for our inaugural Primetime panel. David Marney?